Hello there and welcome to the channel. I'm Dr. Tom Pepper and today I'm going to be doing a bit more of a deep dive into a certain topic, which is going to be gender metaphysics. So I'm going to produce probably two videos on this topic. The first one, this video, is going to cover sort of the questions surrounding the topic. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what metaphysics is and gender's place in the wider topic of metaphysics. And in the second video, we're going to cover the different positions that one could take on the issue of gender metaphysics. It's a big topic, it's in the news a lot, especially lately. People are always talking about it and arguing about it, and frankly, I think a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. So I'm here just to give you a clear, descriptive, no-nonsense, direct account of the different positions of gender, and hopefully that'll help sort of frame the discussion and help you, the viewers, discuss this kind of thing in the future. The full range of the positions I'm going to cover in part 2 will be biological essentialism, gender as outward behaviour, gender as mental behaviour, gender as a purely personal construct, and the gender critical position or abolish gender position. The primary question I'm going to be addressing, my main sort of topic of investigation, is just going to be the simple definitions of the term man and woman. Right, just keep it real simple, real stripped back like that. I figure if you have a gender metaphysics or a gender ideology or theory that can't explain what a man is and what a woman is, it's probably not a very good theory. So that's kind of the yardstick I'm going to be using to judge these theories by as we go through. Just a few notes to begin with. Firstly, on terms, I'm going to be using the term radical to describe anyone that wants to make big changes to the traditional gender norms. And by traditional gender norms, I mean that there are two genders, male and female, and that correlates exactly onto sex, male body people and female body people. So I'm going to call people who believe in the two genders equals two sexes conservatives or traditionalists, and anyone that wants to make a big change a radical. I don't mean that term to be scary, it's just the technical term for people that want things to change. A couple of things I'm not going to cover in this video. One of those is policy positions. It might come up occasionally linked to certain different theories, or I might give my own thoughts on a few policy positions, but mostly I'm not interested in how politicians should treat questions of gender and what the rules should be. I'm just interested in what gender is. It's also not going to be a video about pronouns. It seems to me that if someone asks you to refer to them in a certain way, it's simply polite to do that and really rude to not do that and potentially hurtful. So I'm not going to be discussing that kind of thing. I want to discuss the metaphysics, the concepts at play, and not the, again, fairly trite question of how we refer to each other, because it's just polite to refer to people in the way they ask for, right? Finally, I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people, so I guess content warning: if you don't like hearing views you don't agree with or that contradict your own views on gender, you probably don't want to watch these videos because I'm going to be going through them all. You're going to hear something you disagree with. I'd obviously rather you stay and have a look at the other theories. You can maybe find new ways to criticize those theories if you disagree with them, but if you get upset by this kind of thing, it's probably not worth watching. I have known trans people before in my life, and I actually avoided getting into this topic for years, even in my own head. I just didn't want to think about it because I just wanted to accept that they were who they said they were and all of that, but the topic became way more prevalent, and there's just so many claims out there that are just confusing to either side, I think. I don't think either side of the debate really knows what the other is talking about a lot of the time. And that can lead to a lot of negativity, a lot of toxic feedback. So that's why I think I hesitated on getting involved in this topic, but now I've got this channel, I can talk about what I like, so I'm going to go with this because it is kind of interesting. I would think of myself as a philosopher, a word which means lover of truth. So what I am concerned about here is the truth, and I don't want to be one of those facts not feelings type people. Like, I don't want people to be upset, but I also don't really mind if they get upset by what I'm talking about, right? In the same way I wouldn't really mind if religious people get upset when I talk about atheism. It's just something you're gonna have to deal with in life. So I'm not trying to be mean, I'm not trying to be nice, I'm very sorry if you get upset, but I'm just trying to look at the facts as I see them. Finally, just for full coverage, I am a straight cis male, and if you think that has an impact on what I'm saying, then you should go and watch my video on ad hominems. Who I am as a person doesn't have any effect on the things I'm saying or the arguments I'm making. If it helps, you can imagine that the same things I'm saying are being said by someone who isn't a cis straight male, so that you would have to take them seriously or something like that. But with all of that introductory stuff out of the way, let's get looking at metaphysics in general and how the topic of gender fits into that. So metaphysics, to get very literal about it, is beyond physics. The word meta is Greek, it means something like beyond or transcending. So you can tell this topic is a metaphysical one because when we ask what is a man, what is a woman, we aren't looking for a response from the sciences, from physics, like a biological answer of, oh, a man has these chromosomes and these sexual organs, blah, blah, blah. We want to investigate that depends on your point of view. Either we're investigating the true nature of these things, or we're just looking into our own concepts and how we use them and how we employ them. And that's what I believe, because I'm a skeptic. I don't believe there is a true nature of things that you can discuss beyond their appearances. Metaphysicians often look into questions of what is truth, what is beauty, what is right, what is wrong, but we're just going to look at what is a man and what is a woman. So the topic is most definitely a metaphysical one, and it is always good to see questions of metaphysics in the public eye and this prominent, but if people don't realize they're metaphysical questions, then mistakes start to happen. But one thing I do want to rule out is that this is a science question sometimes, and I know people tweet and it might not be what they really think, they just need to condense their thoughts down. People just say, oh, this is the science, you need to listen to the science. It's not a scientific question. The Bill Nye part on gender, which I know everyone had to go at and no one really liked, like that's a problem with scientism, the idea that scientists can just answer any kind of philosophical questions. I think there's two very distinct fields of study. I don't think science really has a bearing on this question, any more than philosophy really has a bearing on questions of sex or questions of the chemical makeup of elements, right? Those are like purely scientific, physical questions where we're worried about the real world. This is a metaphysical question where we're worried about our concepts. And I'm sorry if this sounds like I'm overcomplicating the issue or trying to drag metaphysics into it, but what I'm going to try and show, especially in the next video, is that that's the opposite of what I'm trying to do. I believe that philosophy should make life simpler and clearer. If you read a load of philosophy and you're more confused than you were at the beginning, it's probably bad philosophy. So I'm going to stick to simple, common sense words wherever I can, just basic terminology, because I don't think this question is actually that difficult to get through. A quick word on my view of metaphysics. As I hinted at there, I believe it's more concept management than looking into the essential nature of things, which I don't think any person has the ability to do if essential nature of things actually exist. And as a result, I don't really think any kind of metaphysical claims are true or false. I don't think they're truth apt. They aren't the kind of thing that can be true. Like 2 + 2 = 4, that can be true. Or Paris is the capital of France, that can be true, right? Those are the kind of statements that can be true or false. Metaphysical claims are just interpretations about the world. They can be more or less appropriate, and the theories can be better or worse, depending on if they're self-contradictory, for example. But they'll never really be true or false. I also don't want to entertain this notion that comes up quite a lot. Gender is a spectrum. That's just a model. That doesn't really have anything to do with what gender is. That's just how you view the topic of gender. So gender being a spectrum or gender not being a spectrum, not really relevant and not something I'm going to cover. Having said all that, I do think that one position is better than the others because I think it's more appropriate, more helpful to us as humans and our understanding of the world. And I will reveal what that position is at the end of the next video when I go through and critique the different positions. Now some of the harder philosophy, I want to address this question of gender being a social construct. The phrase gender is a social construct seems to get thrown around quite a lot and people expect it to do a lot of work. Like they often think that just ends the argument or that anything follows from that. Like if you just point out that gender is a social construct, that means you can do anything with the concept. That's not the case. I'm going to explain why here. The best other example I can find to exemplify what a social construct is probably days of the week. So imagine a statement like Wednesday comes right after Tuesday. That isn't objectively true because if we all changed our minds about that, like as a society tomorrow, we could just flip that. We could easily make it so that Tuesday follows Wednesday, right? And then that would become true. So it can't be objectively true. At the same time, it's obviously not a subjective opinion. I don't really have time to argue for why. It just seems so obvious to me that if someone comes in and says, well, it's just my opinion that Tuesday follows Wednesday and you're going to have to live with that, man, then they just seem obviously wrong, right? Again, they're not objectively wrong, but they are incorrect. So days of the week are a social construct. They are defined intersubjectively because we agree upon what they are as a society. So one example would be revolutionary France in the 1700s. They changed all their calendars so that there were 10 days in a week. And they weren't wrong about there being 10 days in a week any more than we're wrong about there being 7 days in a week. It's just different societies have different intersubjective takes on the question. What this means for gender is that whatever society as a whole thinks about gender will be true. Like in the UK, there really are 7 days in a week. That might change in the future, but at the moment there really are 7. So if the vast majority of people in the UK think there's 2 genders, which I think is still the case, most people do believe that, then that means there really are two if gender is a social construct. So people seem to think that just pointing out it's a social construct is a way out of the problem, but it isn't. It actually buries you deeper in the problem because now you have to accept whatever society says. Like, if you're in a society where trans people can't use any bathroom they want, they have to use the bathroom that correlates to their biological sex, then that society really does only have two genders and they really are that strict. Okay, if it's a social construct, you have to agree with what society is telling you about those concepts. That is obviously completely the opposite of what gender radicals want to achieve, right? They seem to want to point out that gender is a social construct and then move beyond that so that gender can be anything you like. But that isn't what gender as a social construct means. And I actually do believe that gender is a social construct. So I do believe that the UK has two genders. And I believe that other countries, I think places like India and Samoa, right, they have like three genders. Like, that's true for them, just like two is true for us. But I do think we can move to a different position where we don't have that anymore. So the question isn't, is gender a social construct? It's realizing that it is a social construct and then questioning what we want that social construct to be. And then we have to get people to agree with us, because if people don't agree on it as a society, you won't reach any kind of new truth about gender. That's it for part one. I hope I've cleared some of the sort of debris surrounding the question out of the way so that the next part can be much more straightforward. I'll be tackling the positions I outlined there at the beginning. I'll be critiquing them, analysing them, and then saying which one I agree with. That video should be out fairly quickly. I'm shooting them all at the same time, so it should be out in a couple of days, hopefully. Please do subscribe to the channel if you want a notification for when that comes out. Leave a like if you like the video. Really appreciate it if you do that. That really helps the channel. And share with any friends you think might be interested. Until then, I'll see you next time, and goodbye.